And today in our program, in our prayer, we will feel this, but also in the witness of the people who have experienced Our Lady's and our Lord's nearness, particularly through Medjugorje. First of all, Milona of Hapsburg will give us her witness. Milona, who has been here from the very first festival, it's best that she tells us how she came to be here, what happened in her life.
Guten Morgen euch allen zusammen. Wie geht's?
Dobro jutro svima, kako?
Good morning to all of you. How are you?
Lijepo vruće, zar ne?
It's beautifully hot, isn't it?
Uvijek na svim festivalima
Always. At every youth festival, it's been hot. That is the hottest time of the year.
Die größte innere Kraft, alles durchzuziehen für die Zukunft.
ali mladi ljudi imaju najveći
But the youth have the greatest strength, have the greatest interior strength and hope in order to be able to endure all of this because of the future.
kad sam prije 25 godina
When 25 years ago I first came here, I was a young girl.
srce mi baš nije više bilo mlado, ali i godine su bile.
My heart was not so young anymore, but my years were young. My problem was in that I could no longer believe in love. For me, that word was deeply wounded.
Hier etwas geschieht, was in meinem Herzen sehr klar war.
Kad sam došla ovamo,
When I came here, it was only clear to me that something was happening here that was completely clear to me in my heart. Otherwise, I would not have come. My life was very full. I knew that I had to come. Here, someone waited for me.
nisam susrela ni jednog jedinog stanovnika.
I didn't meet a single inhabitant of this parish. I didn't come to know anybody who lived here.
Naša skupina je otišla gore na križu.
Our group went up the cross mountain. And somewhere in the middle, someone waited for me. And that happened very quickly.
Schwarze Last, die mich niedergedrückt hat.
U jednom trenutku nisam
At
mogla
a given moment, I couldn't go on. I felt that my life was a great dark burden that was crushing me. And then simply I sat down on one of the rocks that was there.
Damals nicht, es war alles grün.
u to doba ovdje je sve bilo prazno.
And at that time, everything was empty here, everything was green. All these houses that are built now were not there. And there was silence.
Sjedila sam na tom brdu i gledala sam dolje.
I sat on that hill and I looked down towards the silence.
Obuzela me, oko mene se nalazila kao nekakva nazočnost.
And at a given moment, there was like a presence around me. Someone was looking at me. I felt the gaze upon me. That someone looked at my life. And I saw my life with new eyes.
I taj netko nije
And that someone did not condemn me. There was no condemnation at all. It was just truth. It was not a matter of discussing anything. It was what it was. That someone asked me 3 questions. And they were, if what is happening here is true, then how could you have ever called yourself a Christian? I practiced Catholic faith, but I still had not experienced the fullness of Christian life. And at that moment it was clear. I was not aware of that before. But at that moment I knew.
Drugo pitanje je bilo,
The second question was, who is this God of whom you say that you believe in him?
uvijek sam govorila da
I always spoke saying that I believed in God, and certain things I did not do. But my life did not speak about God. It was words that I did not live. The third question was, does this God exist at all? This was a new God that was with me. In that very question, it was clear that he wants me.
i život koji mi je on dao,
Because the life that he gave me, I simply had to give back to him.
Alles, was ich bisher hatte, verloren.
u tom trenutku sam
At that moment, I lost everything that I had up to that point, my faith and certainty. And something completely new came.
i dok me je obavijala ta nazočnost,
And while that presence enveloped me, I looked down towards the church. And I saw a church without a roof.
Zwischen der Kirche und dem Himmel war vor mir. Ich sah eine Bewegung.
i pred mojim očima vidio se jedan pokret svjetlosti,
And before my eyes, there was a moment of light between the church and heaven. As if in that church, all of heaven was contained. And then everything was over. I sat there, and I couldn't think about anything else. And I didn't know what next.
i onda jedan stari, mali čovjek
And then a very old little man was climbing up the hill. It was difficult for him. It was very little.
Können Sie mir helfen, auf den Berg raufzugehen?
ja sam mu se obratila i ja sam njega pitala
I turned to him and I said, Father, can you help me to get up the hill? He looked at me. I was twice as big as he was. And he said, follow me.
tada sam prvi puta nekog slijedila na putu koji ne poznam.
Then that was the first time that I ever followed somebody on the way that whom I did not know. I had to watch where he was putting his feet because I didn't know where to put mine.
I nisam znala da je to početak jednog novog života.
And I didn't know that was the beginning of a new life, a new way that I did not know. And when we arrived to the top, naturally, it was clear that confession was to come. As always here, confession is the key.
25 Jahre lang nicht herausgesagt hatte.
I moja ispovijed je bila jedno isplakivanje
And my confession was the crying out of everything that I held within me for 20 years. like someone who has lived in exile who is coming back home for the first time. We all know that homeland. We seek it, we long for it. And sometimes it's difficult to find it. At that moment, it came to me. When he gave me absolution, I was completely a new person. I descended from the hill and everything was new. I don't even remember the rest of this pilgrimage.
Samo se sjećam dviju stvari.
I only remember two things. That I saw the sun spinning and I saw the cross on Cross Mountain in unusual light.
Ali to su bila samo dva
But those were just two little signs that confirmed that that great interior experience was true.
Nije uvijek lako doživjeti takve.
It is not always easy to experience such things when everything inside of a person has changed and outside nothing. This I really had to accept. Thanks be to God, God is faithful.
Nakon toga sam svakog mjeseca dolazila iz Münchena
Afterwards, every month I came from Munich, from where I lived.
i 1985. sam onda počela
And in 1985, very humbly, I started to help here in the parish.
jednostavno sam bila tu.
I was simply here at the disposition of the Franciscans, who were overwhelmed by the people who were coming. And I was here. And several years later, the youth festival began. It started with one young man. As everything here begins little, small, this young man said, "We need something for the youth. I come from Taizé. The young are seeking something." And Fr Slavko was a good shepherd. He heard the sheep and he said, "Fine, let's see, let's do something, but you have to do it." Then Fr Slavko found two green tents. One of them is still here, behind you. We had those two tents that were open, a red carpet on the floor, bricks in the middle, like a tower of bricks, many little candles, and the Blessed Sacrament in the middle. Many young people on the floor around it, and silence. A few lectures that then we translated in several languages. Here there was a priest from Ireland, Father Liam Lawton, who came with a group who sang well.
Bilo drago da danas bude ovdje.
He would be very happy to be here today. He says that he's coming next year.
Sve je bilo spontano.
Everything was spontaneous. Practically nothing was organized. But we started with prayer. And that is the key experience here, to start little, to start with prayer, and it grows on its own.
Samo o sebi da ljudi na to odgovore.
And then, all on its own, people answer and respond. And from that day, the young people have been coming in greater and greater numbers. That is God's people who are calling, and the parish responds. And so this continues on here.
Jučer sam se sjetila jedne situacije.
Yesterday I remembered a situation from the first youth festival.
Postoji jedna grupa hodočaša
Here there's a group of pilgrims who did not hear well. They're a problem with hearing. Yesterday and the day before I knelt among them. I remembered a girl who at the first youth festival was here. I think she was Romanian.
Dass sie das Gegrüßet seist du Maria in Zeichensprache tanzen dürfe.
i ta mlada žena je molila
And that young woman prayed. She asked if she could dance the Hail Mary in the language of the deaf. Fr Slavko, we called boss, said yes. He always said yes.
jer je vidio kako Božja milost
Because he saw how God's grace is working in people's heart and he wanted to free them.
Ihr Ave Maria gebetet und getanzt.
i tako je ta mlada žena
In this way, this young woman, before the Blessed Sacrament, danced this Hail Mary before the Blessed Sacrament. And we will all invite it in our hearts to pray with her. I think that it was this prayer that our Lord heard very loudly and clearly. There was an external great silence. Everyone watched this young woman and prayed with her.
eto to je jedno od sjećanja.
That is just one of the memories that came back to my memory.
I eto nas danas ovdje
And here we are today. I'm certain that Father Slavko looks down upon us from heaven to see what's happening and is praying for us. And that's that. Thank you.